Good evening, Lisa.
Good evening, Andrew.
I should have my top hat on, shouldn't
You
I?
should. You didn't think of that, did you?
No, because today, are you being served top hat and tails? So, the centre display stand ain't there.
No, I'm surprised Mr. Granger ever gets over that fact.
Yeah. But there is a sort of arch thing, isn't there? And it's for the dress hire department.
Yes, this is new.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, Rumbold and Peacock come out of the lift, and they've got their brollies tangled.
Yes.
Somehow.
Yes,
haven't
they've got those sort of brollies with a proper handle on.
Yeah, the handles are hooked.
Yes. And Mr. Rumbold pulls Captain Peacock's innards out. Yeah.
So his brolly is knackered.
Yes.
So he sort of sidles over to where there's a rack of them and just
slips it in there and takes another one.
one.
Don't do it, boys and girls.
Naughty.
Thieving.
Naughty thievery. But I've written with an exclamation mark, Mr. Harmon!
Yay! We
Mr.
like
Harmon
Mr. Harmon.
is here.
Yes.
In the form of Arthur English.
Arthur English, who is not that we didn't like Mr. Mash, but Mr. Harmon fits in very well. I think. I think Mr. Harmon fits in better because he's not as rude as Mr. Mash.
No.
Is he's more sort of friendly with them.
Yeah. Bear in mind that Arthur English is quite busy at this point because you've got Ghosts of Motley Hall at the same time, haven't you? Yeah. So he's clearly in demand. But yes, he and Mr. Ludlow, played by Peter Green, who I recognise from Broadcast The Empire.
Yes, he's the
he's
technician, isn't he?
Yeah, in Dad's Army.
Yes.
Yeah. The Christmas Night with the Stars episode when they're doing the radio broadcast. But yeah, Mr. Ludlow and Mr. Harmon have got a robot. Display thing.
Automated display unit,
yes.
he calls it, yeah.
So,
but it is basically a robot.
Yes. But it's trousers keep falling down, don't they?
Unfortunate times.
Yes.
Yes.
So Mr. Humphreys comes in and wonders whether he's missed something. And apparently this cost £10,000.
That's a
this
lot
thing,
of money.
which for them is a, and for Grace Brothers
is amazing sum.
Considering how tight
tight
they usually are with the rest of the money. But Mr. Granger thinks it's a customer, and when he sees the trousers fall down, he asks Mr. Humphreys to get the braces.
Braces, Mr. Humphreys.
Yeah. Mrs. Slocum comes in, and her hair's sort of sea green, isn't it?
It's sea
sort of
green
greeny
at this
bluey.
point.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, there's a lady one as well, a lady robot.
And she's got red hair like Ginger Rogers.
Yeah. But when she's brought in by Mr. Lucas, she's got this huge green skirt on.
Yes.
And she's topless,
She is.
isn't
Yes,
she?
she needs a top pulling up.
Yeah. But I need to talk about these robots because the ability they demonstrate, especially in the second half of the episode, is astonishingly advanced.
It is
not only for
astonishing.
1976,
But for now.
but for even now.
Because if you see robots now, mostly all they do is there is one that dances.
Yeah.
And is sad.
Yeah.
Which is very sweet.
Because getting robots to walk downstairs has been a huge challenge from the sort of technology and the software point of view, because it needs to know where it is.
Yeah.
And the sensors and the processing that you need to do this. So if Mr. Ludlow and Mr. Harmon have knocked this up between them...
Yeah, they should be millionaires.
Yeah.
They should be like the Bill Gates of their time.
They are incredibly good engineers and programmers. So what Mr. Harmon's doing working in maintenance...
Yeah, right, yeah, he obviously likes it. So.
So where Mr. Ludlow has come from is not quite clear.
No, it's like
he's got like a lab coat on, so is he some sort of boffin?
It's sort of like a research department, I suppose, technical department.
But really, this, when you think about the technology here, this does push this into sort of semi-science fiction, doesn't it? So are we preparing the way for Comeback Mrs. Noah?
Quite possibly, yeah.
Because you said there's a Dad's Army radio production. You know, the last one, which was done when the sort of radio studio shut down, where they've got like
robots.
robot Winston Churchills, isn't
yeah.
it? So yeah, it's just interesting that.
Which I don't think you would have done during the original run.
No.
Well, then this is during the original run of Dad's Army, so I suppose it's possible. But it's the setting more.
Yeah,
more.
because that sounds like it's more like from the Goodies or
Yes.
something. But
Yeah.
but anyway, button 3 is apparently to activate it. Apparently, Mr. Humphreys Milkman curtsies.
Yeah, well, yeah, but because you haven't described, because what they've done, what
Yeah.
Mr. What's his name, the technician?
Mr. Ludlow.
Mr. Ludlow's done is he's programmed it to do a very simple sequence.
Yeah.
So the basic idea is that the male robot or display unit salutes,
Yeah.
and then the female one curtsies.
Yeah.
That is not exactly what happens.
Well, this is meant to be activated by pressing button 3 on the remote control, which is a big, proper, chunky remote
yes,
control,
it's,
isn't
yes,
it? You know?
it's with big proper buttons that you have to actually press really hard
Yeah.
to get them to work.
Mr. Rumbold accidentally presses button 8 and the trousers fall down
Yeah,
again.
it's for quick changing.
Mr. Humphreys likes button 8 though,
Yes.
and he thinks it would be useful in certain
Yes,
circumstances.
I'm late, I must press button 8.
Yeah. But eventually they activate it. It puts its hand on its hip.
Yeah,
It salutes.
yeah.
Then it knocks the lady's dummy
Yeah,
head off.
because then it sort of punches out.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But yeah, so all is not quite right with the programming
No.
at the moment. Then we cut to the canteen.
Yes.
And there's the white sugar bowl,
Mhm.
but there's some brown sugar at one end.
Yes.
Is this the gravy's
The gravy's
been
been
spilt in
spilt in it. Yeah, really, the whole sugar needs throwing out.
Yeah.
The bowl needs to be washed,
Yeah. It's
and
horrible,
new
yeah.
sugar needs to be put in.
But Mrs. Slocum wants 2 big ones,
Yeah.
and Mr. Humphreys has got some saccharin,
Yes.
hasn't he?
Yeah.
Now, what's he done? He was demonstrating. He had a demonstration of
he
his
had
new
a-
fire or something.
Yeah, a dinner party the night before to show off his new electric fire.
Yeah,
That's got one of those discs in that produces artificial smoke and light.
yeah. Flames, isn't it?
Flames,
Artificial
yeah.
flames.
Yeah, he said we said smoke.
Does he?
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. But Captain Peacock arrives and he's been for a sandwich in the boardroom.
Mr. Granger is outraged
Yeah,
at
that
this.
he's being allowed in the boardroom.
Yes, and having a sandwich.
Yeah. But this is all for the Golden Shoes competition, which is a ballroom dancing competition for department stores.
Yes.
So I did sort of start to think of that whodunnit where Nick Courtney.
Oh yeah.
Is the ballroom
like
dancing,
a factory,
isn't it? Yeah.
So yeah.
But yeah, they're going to form a team. Now, apparently 6 years ago, Captain Peacock was
Got to the quarterfinals. Yeah.
when he was in soft furnishings and fabrics.
Soft finishing and fabrics, yes.
Yeah. So a little bit of history there.
Mhm.
They've been looking at Mr. Humphrey's record.
Yes.
And he insists he was innocent of all charges.
Yes,
I
it
don't
was a
know
mistaken identity.
quite what that was a reference to, but he was at the Twinkle Toes Dance Salon, an instructor or something, wasn't he? At Western Supermare, and he was also a Sunshine Babe when he was 8. Now, did you know what a Sunshine Babe was?
No.
Not really.
No, it's some sort of child dancing troupe.
But he demonstrates by sitting in the chair and
Yeah.
like sort of wiggling his knees
yes,
about and stuff.
being winsome.
Is that winsome?
Yes.
Yeah. So they're going to get Mr. Humphreys as the trainer, and apparently Mrs. Slocum was quite light on her feet at the Christmas party
Yes.
as well. And even Mr. Lucas has been to the Palais de Dance. Apparently he tried to sneak into the under-25
Yes,
night.
and got shut out.
Mr. Humphreys knows this because he was there.
Yes.
How much older is Mr. Humphreys than Mr. Lucas?
It looks like about sort of. It's got to be about 5-6 years,
Yeah.
if not more.
But if they're up for this, there's a bonus of £25. So the money is being splashed around, what
Yeah.
with robots and bonuses and
But
things.
do they get the bonus just for the training?
Yeah, I
rather
think,
than,
I think so. Just for entering.
for
Yeah,
enter-
yeah.
Well, I don't.
Because they say there's a lot of work required to
Yes.
do it.
Yeah.
And even Mr. Granger's, not averse to
No,
it.
no, he
says
likes
he's not
ballroom
very
dance,
good, but
he likes it.
he likes
yeah.
it. So they wheel on the piano,
Mhm.
and of course it's Mr. Rumbold.
Yes, this is the first time we see that Mr. Rumbold.
Is it the first
I
time
think
he
it
plays?
is.
I can't
think it
remember. Rings a bell that he did play something, but of course Nicholas Smith
Yes.
was quite musical in real
He
life.
was.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
there's a couple of YouTube videos.
Yeah, where he comes
of
on and
him.
plays his piano and then goes
Yeah.
off again. At least he speaks, not
Yeah.
like other people.
But yeah, apparently they have to get it back by 9 o'clock the next day. But Mr. Rumbold has got written permission from Mr. Widgery, who's apparently of the piano department or
Yes.
something.
He's probably head of the play.
Yeah, and he starts playing scales and things
Yes.
like that. But yeah, Mr. Humphrey says, not whilst I'm instructing. So they're going to try the quick step, first of all. Miss Brahms apparently knows how to do the funky chicken. How
Yes.
do you do the funky chicken? You going to demonstrate?
No.
You sort of do that with your...
Yeah.
I was thinking of the funky gibbon from
Yes.
the Goodies at that point. But Mr. Granger sort of does something, but nobody's quite sure what he sort of goes round.
No, he
and-
does. He
yeah.
sort of spins a bit, yes. Yeah.
But Humphreys and Peacock demonstrate.
Yes.
Captain Peacock leads.
Yes.
Yes. And then they pair up Mrs. Slocum and Mr. Lucas and Miss Brahms and Mr. Granger. And you've got to get your hand in the small of the back.
Yes.
And Mr. Humphreys demonstrates the two wrong positions,
Yes.
which are up on the sort of near the shoulders and basically on the arse.
Yeah. Which Captain Peacock is not happy about.
Gives him a look, yeah, because he's put Captain Peacock's hand there, doesn't
yeah.
he? Yeah. This would also be wrong. So the music starts, but it's a bit too quick at first. But the audience is loving all this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're in their element.
there's a lot of sort of laughter and clapping, and yeah, everybody's up for it. Then they have a go at the foxtrot instead. Mr. Rumbold wants to know how his piano playing was, and Captain Peacock says it was adequate. And that don't go down.
No, it doesn't
well,
go down
does
very
it?
well, no.
And then Captain Peacock shows off his ability, and he gets another round of applause from the
and
audience.
he's pretty good actually, isn't he?
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah.
Mr. Lucas is having trouble finding the small of Mrs. Slocum's back,
Yes.
though.
Yes, he said he can find the large of her back, but he can't find the small of her back.
Yeah, but what was it? He holds her at the back, but her front comes out, so she
Yeah.
ends up too close for him, and she thinks he's taking advantage. So he sort of manhandles her a bit, doesn't he? 'Cause he
Yes.
sort of grabs her by the sort of the arse and stuff, and sort of the skirt goes up.
Yeah.
Mrs. Slocum sort of has a word with Captain Peacock,
Yeah.
sort of demonstrating how it was all wrong. But Mr. Lucas goes and gets an arm off of a dummy,
Yes.
so that he's got a bit of extra reach.
Yes. So he holds on to the sort of this bit of the arm
Yeah,
and puts that in Mrs. Slocum's back.
yeah. Then they
Which works well for a minute or two.
then they have a bit of a dance, but when they sort of go round each other, she grabs the arm and it comes away, so
Yeah.
they end up separated, don't they? Yeah, but Mr. Lucas is warned that if this piddling about continues, there'll be an adverse entry on his record.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the ultimate threat, isn't it?
It is,
really?
yes.
Meanwhile, Mr. Granger has fallen asleep.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. And he starts sort of talking in his sleep. He says, I'm just serving Prince Philip. Don't worry, sir. Don't worry, the sleeves will ride up with wear.
Your Royal Highness.
Your Royal Highness.
Yeah.
But a shout of "Are you free?" soon
Wakes him up.
gets him to his feet, and he starts trying to start, doesn't
Yeah,
he?
he just sort of stamps. It's weird. It's like a sort of.
It's almost like he's trying to start a motorbike,
well,
isn't it?
that or in cartoons when a sort of people go to run
Yeah.
or balls and things, they quite often do this with their foot,
Yeah.
and that's kind of what he's doing, isn't it? But it's sort of like that.
He's told he's left his engine
Yeah.
running, isn't he? He says he's not sure where to start, but once he gets going, he's all right.
Yeah.
But yeah, then we sort of go to Mr. Rumbold's office. Still no secretary.
No,
So there's
can't afford it.
no.
But
Well,
too
they
much
spent
money on the robots.
spent it all on the robot. That's what it
Yeah.
is. Yeah. And they've done 3 hours overtime as
Yeah.
well, so that's costing. But young Mr. Grace gets a bit confused, and he ends up thinking that Mr. Rumbold will be dancing on the piano with his hands on the keyboard or something. But he remembers how Fred Astaire once danced on the ceiling.
Yes.
Yeah. The phone rings in menswear, and Mr. Humphreys does the menswear
Yes.
thing, and it's Leslie, who's from the higher stock room and is after their measurements
Yes.
for the suits. Mr. Granger is asked what his vital statistics are, and he's not sure because he's had no interest in them since he
couldn't see his toes
since
anymore.
he lost sight of his toes. But Mr. Humphries gets out the tape measure. His head is 7.5, his neck is 16, his chest is 42, his waist is 42, his hips are 42, and his inside leg is is 31. And there's a cry of, what is it, fault?
Yeah.
And should we try again with new balls? Which I'm assuming is to do with
yeah.
Yes. Anyway, but the robot sort of comes back in. The robots come back into it now, and it'll raise its hat and bow, and she'll nod. Apparently, Mrs. Slocum gets to press the button.
She does. She says it's like being the queen launching a ship.
Yeah, and she's not great with mechanical things, but she once hit the jackpot on the pier at Blackpool. Mr. Harmon says that he did under the pier at Blackpool.
Yes. Though he later amends that to Yarmouth.
He amends that to Yarmouth.
I don't know if he means Great Yarmouth.
If he means Great Yarmouth, I was going to say, I've been under that pier picking up seashells.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, we're not a Great Yarmouth.
Was it not? When did we go to Yarmouth?
We've never been to Great Yarmouth. We've been to Yarmouth on the Isle of Wight.
Oh, I see. Yeah, sorry, I'm getting confused over the Yarmouth.
No.
Yes, I was going to say.
Great Yarmouth is in Norfolk.
Yes, because Yarmouth has got the pier where you can't get underneath it. So he must mean Great Yarmouth then. Right, got it.
Anyway, we divulge.
Anyway, sorry, I was thinking of Clacton. Anyway.
Yes.
Yeah, so the robot bows into her skirt, and the skirt lifts up, doesn't it, and shows her arse off, basically. Yes. Captain Peacock enters, and his trousers and jacket are all far too small, and so's his hat. Yeah. So he's like, there's several inches of ankle showing.
And about that much sleeve.
His sleeve's about halfway up. And it turns out these are old costumes from a sort of theatricals, isn't it?
Theatrical costumier that's gone bust.
And he thinks it's probably Stan Laurel's.
Yes.
I'm not sure if it would be that good condition if it was Stan Laurel's.
No, probably not. No.
Mr. Lucas it doesn't fit too badly, but its pockets are full of birdseed. There's a rabbit in the hat, so it clearly belonged to a conjurer or something.
Yes. And Mr. Granger's one, it says Michael Wilding in it.
Yeah, who's Michael Wilding?
He's an actor.
All right, okay.
He's a 50s actor, I think.
Okay, Mr. Humphries enters in a spangly white affair.
Now, we're starting now.
Yeah, this is the real Mr. Humphries in silly costumes.
In silly costumes. And was he first? Was he first or was Trevor Bannister first?
No,
he's still not quite first.
No, I don't think it's till next year that he gets.
But we're starting to get the fact that John Inman can carry off these extraordinary costumes. So they start to do that more and more, and eventually he will be first on the cast list.
Because he's got a glittery jacket, waistcoat, and he's even got glitter in his hair, if you notice.
Oh, I didn't see that.
It catches the light if you. Miss Brahms enters with a sort of big pink skirt thing.
Yes, and she's trying to get down. She has to sort of go sideways down the stairs so she can see where she's walking.
And she notices there's a bulge in Mr. Lucas's pocket, which turns out to be a rubber chicken that lays an egg.
Yes.
With a bit of all that pulling on it. Mrs. Slocum. She's sort of turquoise, isn't it? Yeah. You say her hair's changed a bit?
Looks like it's now turquoise as well, because it matches very well to the dress.
I might have to take some screenshots to see if it is
might
different.
be the same, but it matches very well to the dress, whatever colour it is. So.
But she can't see the steps.
No. So Mr. Lucas has to go out and give her his hand.
Has to be helped down. He's got an extendable cane as well,
and he sort of flicks it out. Yeah.
And she goes and sits in a chair.
Yes.
And the whole skirt just rides up.
So basically the same thing that happened with the female display unit, the robot, happens to Mrs. Slocum but in reverse.
Yeah.
So you get to see her
drawers.
Unmentionables.
Well, they're not that unmentionable because you get a very clear.
She's got really big sort of.
Like elasticated.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what you'd call them, but.
Old lady knickers.
They're old lady knickers, basically.
She sat there oblivious to it, though, isn't she? Because you can't see her face.
Miss Brahms is standing sort of behind it, so she can't see it. So it's only just sort of Mr. Lucas and Captain Peacock and Mr. Rumbold. Mr. Rumbold says to Captain Peacock, shouldn't you tell her or shall I? And he says, you're the senior manager.
Yeah, so he sort of goes over and says, are you there, Mrs. Slocum? And because you can't see her face, all you see is this hand waving. But yeah, then young Mr. Grace comes in.
Yes.
And he gets a round of applause for coming out of the lift.
Yeah.
This is starting to turn into like sort of like it's an American sitcom.
Cheers,
like people just come in and they get a round of applause.
Yay! It's
Norman. But yeah, they have a dancing demo. And I love the bit where Mr. Humphries comes right up to the camera, looks in the camera,
and he's got a rose
and he smiles into the camera. So, you know, after Mr. Mash doing the stuff to camera in the Christmas special,
we've lost all sense of reality.
Yeah, they know there's an audience at home watching now. So so watch out for this. The robot dancers join in.
Yes.
And this. I don't think you could program robots to do that.
At this point, they've sort of... I mean, they are robots, but the audience at home is now just going, they're just people with masks on.
Yeah. But yeah, no way could a £10,000 robot
do that.
Because
I was watching the female dancer.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of leg bending, and I don't think robots... Until we get to a situation where you can do sort of replacement ligaments.
Yeah, even
and
the sort of high end sort of Japanese robots.
They've got legs.
They've got a very certain way of moving, haven't they?
Yeah, I don't think they'll be able to do that.
So yeah,
and they certainly won't be able to flex their legs.
No,
this is my arm, but
nothing has been yet programmed that does this. So we are in real. So, but yeah, if robot technology was this good in this universe.
Nobody would need to work. The robots.
Yeah, the robots could serve behind the counters, basically. You know, it is Robert's Robots at this point, isn't it? Yeah.
But better than Robert's Robots.
Better than Robert's Robots. Yeah.
They don't blow up or go.
Or their ears go on fire.
Or a bit stupid like Katie.
Yeah, but yeah, you get the full dancing demo, and I don't think they do too bad, really.
No, but Mr. Grace is not impressed.
Young Mr. Grace says it was a shambles apart from the two at the end. And he says, order 4 more and send your silly lot home.
Yeah. It's gratitude for you.
Yeah, what's on you then? Yeah. But yeah, I just want to know what happened to the robots after this. Because they're never mentioned again.
Perhaps Mr. Grace takes them home and they're serving him at home.
Yeah, maybe. But there's you could have done something with them. And but
it's not about that, is it? It's about moving on to the next story.
Yeah, so next week, no robots.
No.
But, quite fun. Quite fun. It does beg some questions about how realistic this is.
Yeah.
Because, we are going towards it being, everybody knows it's a TV show now. I think so. That's quite strange. Again, virtually no customers.
No, one customer doesn't get to speak.
No, so this is all about what happens almost sort of outside hours, isn't it?
At this point, you're not interested in the customers. You're interested in the regular staff.
Yeah. So they've got enough character and interplay now that's more what the show is basing itself
really,
on.
Do you?
They're almost an
They are
irrelevance.
Irrelevance. Yes.
But do you want to score that one or not?
I think that's probably a 7.
Okay, good. Right. So what's the next one then? Do you
Forward, Mr. Granger.
Ooh. A Mr. Granger one.
Mr. Granger
I like
one.
Mr. Granger.
Yeah, Mr. Granger ones are good, but they're a bit mean to Mr. Granger in this one. But then Mr. Granger is a bit mean to them as well.
All right.
We might not necessarily do that next week because we're going to be doing some Doctor Who videos next week.
Oh, for Doctor Who's anniversary.
But coming out for the 55th anniversary at the end of next week.
Let's see what we do then.
So
we'll be back at some point.
Yes.
With more Arabic Sound.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye.